All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here, Mark P. Markets. Thanks for joining me for another Bitcoin video analysis. I am now streaming on both YouTube and on TradingView. So welcome, TradingView people. Real quick, if you're new to the stream, here's how it works. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the economic calendar, right? So you have a quick idea of what you should be anticipating this week in terms of news reports, important ones or not. Then I will be going over my Bitcoin analysis. I was doing this earlier today. Some of you may have saw it. Not much has changed since then, but I have some few interesting things we can talk about. And then after that, I'm going to answer your questions about a stock, an altcoin, whatever you'd like me to analyze. Okay, so now would be a good time to put your question in the channel. I see a bunch of questions here on the YouTube channel. Thanks, guys, for putting those in there. TradingView people, if you have a question, now would be a good time to put it in the channel. So when I get to the Q&A portion of the stream here, I can get to your question right away. This stream will be 1 hour long. So after that, I will cut it off. Okay, I went overboard earlier today. I need to keep this at an hour. So if I missed your question, I apologize. Also, if you'd like to share what country or what city you are from, that's always a fun fact. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as Northern New Jersey, and that's why I sound funny. All right, anyway, so let's get this thing started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Wow, I see a couple of people here from the earlier stream. Man, you guys are really committed. I appreciate that. All right, you got to see me twice today. That's crazy. All right, anyway. All right, also, TradingView people, if you see if the browser is not working properly or you don't see my screen, just make sure to refresh the browser. That usually solves the problem. Okay, so now that we got this thing started, let me get that slide off the screen here, and let's get to my charts so that you can see them. There we go. Hold on a second. Let me fix that. All right, so you should see my Bitcoin chart. Hey, everyone. Okay, so real quick, before I get into the economic calendar, I want to mention that I am sponsored by 8Cap Partners. They are an Australian-based Forex and CFD broker. They basically have the MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5 platform. If you're a non-US resident, you can take advantage of their newer integration with TradingView. So you can actually open an 8Cap account and trade on TradingView. Okay, trade on their trade platform there, their trade window. Okay, so that's a nice feature that they've just recently put in. And they have some, they have a competitive spread structure. They have raw spreads, which are very tight, but they have a commission on that. So it's better if you trade larger positions. And they also have their standard, typical spreads on most pairs. Okay, so I encourage you to check that out. You can find the links where you can find them here. All right, by the way, people, if you like my videos and you like my stuff, please press the like button or the boost button wherever you are. I always appreciate that. Okay, so now with that being said, let's talk about the economic calendar very quick. Again, you're not sitting there looking for trade ideas. You're looking at the economic calendar to manage risk. Okay, that is your primary purpose. This week, we're looking at Wednesday. Okay, we have the Bank of Canada is having their interest rate announcement. I mean, no one really cares too much about Canada. So unless you're in a Forex pair that's relative to that, you should be at least aware, but it's not a market moving piece of information usually. Now on Thursday, there's a lot of information. We have the ECB coming out with their rate announcement. Okay, that can move a lot of pairs. That can be a little more dramatic, especially any euro crosses, things like that. Keep an eye on that. Also, there is the US GDP annualized. Now that might be a market mover. It might not. I mean, I mention it because it can, if there are any surprises, but it's a lagging number. Okay, so I don't put a lot of weight on it, but I will mention it. All right, double check on the times that these things come out. I believe GDP comes out at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. All right, and then Thursday evening, we have Bank of Japan. They are also going to have their rate announcement. Bank of Japan can affect yen crosses. So again, if you're a Forex trader, be aware of these things. You can, if there are any surprises, you can see a range expansion. Now, I had not seen, there's some other news too, but not as important. Check your economic calendar. I saw there was nothing particular for the British pound, and I am interested in shorting the British pound again. For those that were watching my stream earlier, I talked about the pound. I had to check on that short. I am stopped out. I was stopped out of that short, and it's ridiculous because they got me right at my stop price. Okay, so again, it's my fault for trying to keep that stop a little too tight. If I put on another trade in the pound, it will be not a 200 pip stop, but most likely a 225 pip stop. Give myself a little more extra room. I mean, he just got me out at my stop. It's amazing how that works. But I know it's not they don't know that I was there. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just my stop was a little too tight. Okay, so that's the nature of the game. It's going to happen. I was hoping to get out earlier if the market was going to turn. But even if I gave it a chance, I just want to mention this before I talk about the pound. Even if I gave that thing a chance, I would have been getting out at like 1389. Okay, and I got knocked out at 1405. So the 20 pips is not really that big of a deal. You might as well just give it the chance. Okay. Anyway, all right. So let's talk about Bitcoin here. So first things first, from compared to where we were earlier, people, that were watching my stream from earlier, not much has changed, as you can see. Now, the point of my TradingView article, like I also mentioned, is that this thing is acting relatively weak. My expectation was that if the market rallied, the S&P rallied, and we saw something dramatic, which we saw on Friday, Bitcoin should have done better. It should have pushed 19.5. I mean, and stayed above it. It should have been testing the higher resistance. It could not even get out of its own way. So that puts us to where we are now. I mean, look, this is basically, it's not a bearish pin bar because there's a bottom tail to it, but it's basically like a doji, indecisive. Keep something in mind. I have a trade signal out at 18,850. That was the entry. So if anyone took that, you're red right now. Okay. But the reason why I'm not so quick to adjust on this one is because the general structure and the general context has not changed. Okay, nothing has changed. Resistance levels are still being respected. I would be open to giving that short a chance. Now, keep in mind, I don't short Bitcoin, so I am not in that one. I forgot to mention that specifically. I'm not in that. But if you're in it, I mean, there's no reason to adjust right now. Give the market a chance. This may turn into a second sell signal. And that's what I want to mention here in the stream, because we're here to talk about setups, right? Swing trade setups. Well, if this candle closes like this and it takes out the low of the candle, which is what, 19,150 basically, you will have a new sell signal. All right, a new swing trade sell signal will be in play. Now, there's no momentum in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been out of play for quite some time. But if there are any surprises and this thing gets hammered, and this thing breaks 18K, the 17K area is still very, very reasonable. Okay, it's still a very reasonable potential for this thing. Also, keep something in mind. This area, and I mentioned this when I mentioned the original short, this zone that this thing, in fact, let me draw a rectangle, okay, because you guys will get a better idea if I do that. This zone right here is basically a very tight consolidation. Half of the population, think about this, half of the population that's getting involved in this is long and half of it is short. Half of this population is going to be wrong, okay? And whichever half that is, you're going to see momentum build in that way. So for example, if we break these supports, all those longs are going to be stuck and they're going to get pushed out of their positions. That's what takes price to the lower area, okay, when they're all getting out at the same time or being margined out. All right, we can have the same situation on the long side, but the problem with the long side is there's no economic context behind that. Okay, dollar is rising, rates are rising. Those are not bullish pressures for Bitcoin. So you have to understand where it fits into the economic puzzle. So probability favors a break of the low. Now, everyone, of course, wants to know, well, when? And how can I find out when it's going to blah, blah, blah? There's no way to know. Okay, so you have to look at the general probability. That's not something you could see on the chart, but we can see that lower highs are respected. Structure favors the break of low. When that break occurs, it's going to be a matter of catalyst. When that catalyst comes out, who knows? Okay, I can't tell you for sure that we're going to 17K, but I can see that probability favors a test of that level. That's the best I can do. And then I have to look at the risk that I'm willing to take. If I'm willing to take the risk, then I can put on the trade. If I'm not sure, then I should not put on the trade. I don't short Bitcoin, so this is pretty easy for me to figure out. But for people that are interested in that, I put the signal out there, I put the risk, and I put the profit potential that's within reason for a swing trade. Okay, does that all make sense? So again, you cannot lose sight of the economic context. Please, if you're one of those people that likes to consume news and all this garbage because it gives you the illusion of control, please do yourself a favor and stop doing that, because you're only fooling yourself. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Let me know if you have any questions. Now, before I answer your questions, I want to just take one quick look at the British pound. Okay, because again, we're here to talk about setups, right? And then I'm going to answer your questions. Now, look at the pound. I want to explain my trade idea that I got stopped out on, and why I'm still open to getting back in. Sure. So the trade idea was basically, it was based on the break of this bearish candle low, the bearish inside bar, pin bar type of candle right here, right? It took out that low. That was Thursday. The next day, this thing at the bottom was up 100 pips. Okay, but I wasn't going to get out there. This had 400 pips of potential that I was looking for, and that was way too early. I mean, that was just only a few hours into the trade. Okay, now there was that dramatic reversal for whatever, right? News, blah blah blah, and then this thing basically opens up at 1389 and taps me out. I mean, the high here is 1407. Stop was at 1405. So now it's giving us this red candle, right? And we're back to basically the 13 even area. So this thing basically went 200 pips against me and then came back 100 pips. All right, I'm out of this thing. But this thing gives us the bearish signal by taking out this low, which is what, 1257. I mean, that's going to be the entry price around there. And I'm going to have to give it 225 pips of risk, which is going to be up here somewhere, right? Something like that, approximately. And if I get stopped out again, if I get, we get a bullish candle inside bar, blah, 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 and I have to get out and I have to take another loss, well, then I'll just take the loss and leave the pound alone. But with the dollar index doing what it's doing, all right, let's just take a quick look at that before I go back to Bitcoin and start answering your questions. Look at this. I mean, this is not exactly selling off, and this is not exactly bearish. It's sitting at a range support. It was stronger earlier, but if this thing picks up, that pound is not going higher, okay, against the dollar. All right, anyway, so I hope that makes sense to you guys. I just wanted to mention that real quick. I mentioned, those of you that follow me in the channel, where to find me. You'll see where I make those calls. Okay, all the information is there. You can see the pound short, you can see the Bitcoin short, you can see all the other information. All right, so let me get into your questions now. All right, let me start answering questions. By the way, TradingView people, I only see 2 questions in there. If you have a question, now would be a good time to start asking. All right, let me see here. So let me jump over to YouTube. I see a lot of questions. Hey, Stian, good to see you. All right, Elijah's, okay, cool, yeah, I'm sure, I'm glad, I'm gonna put another link to that as well, but I'm glad you saw where the main link was. Could you have a look at REEF? Sure, USDT, let's take a look. Okay, now, REEF, USDT, interesting. Oh, look, this looks like one of those Quant, or what was the other one, Maker, right? Kind of looks like that situation. So first things first, it's been obviously doing its own thing. You're going to have these outliers, all right, in these altcoins. I mean, there's a lot of altcoins. So you're going to have these coins that have these unusual moves. And I'm trying to find them, like, before the move, so maybe we can see some swing trade opportunities. But you have to understand, my attention right now is split into so many areas. But once I get some things ironed out, I'm going to spend time looking for these type of trade ideas, okay? Before obviously they look obvious. So anyway, here's the thing. Go to your weekly chart, right? First thing you want to check is, well, where is this thing coming off of? This, what you're seeing right here, right? This rejection of resistance. I saw this in Maker, or also Quant. It's the same exact story. So this movement that we saw is just some kind of short-term nonsense. There's probably some hype going on somewhere, right? For whatever reason, it's been doing its own thing for a few weeks, and it gets everyone thinking that, this is the next Bitcoin, this is the next bull market. This is nonsense. Have you seen the total chart? If you look at total, right? I'm not going to put it up here, but it's the total market cap of all these things. It looks just like the Bitcoin chart. It looks like garbage. There's no money coming into this market, into this sector. There's nothing, okay? So this is just, anyone that gets caught in this and get stuck in this, you're looking at trouble here. All right, so that's a lower high on the weekly chart. This current candle has taken out the weekly low, barely. That's an inside bar over the previous week, and it took out the low. That's a sell signal on the weekly chart. So not exactly a good time to be buying. And if you're long from lower prices, it's probably wise, just a suggestion, to take some profit off the table if you have some profit. If you bought the high, you're taking a lot of risk. Okay, not you, Steve, I'm just saying in general. So there is a sell signal in play, and this thing can pull back. Okay, where can it pull back to? You're looking at this price over here. What is that? 0048. So basically, 0048, right? A fraction of a penny there. 0048 this thing can pull back to, and this thing right now is 0056. So that has some room to play with there. All right, I would not be getting involved in this thing right now. There's no reason to buy this thing. There's no swing trade. Yes, you have a level, Stian. There's a level here that's worth noting. You are at an old resistance, so it's likely to act as a support, but you cannot step in front of this. There's no confirmation, and there's a sell signal that's basically in play on the weekly, which means this momentum there's some weight behind it. This can continue. You don't want to get stuck in that. So definitely worth keeping an eye on, but I would not, if anything, this is not a good investment. This is good for a swing trade, right? If this thing turns into a buy signal, you look for a small bite, and that's it. Because as you can see with the bigger picture, this is not in generally a bullish trend. If Bitcoin breaks, these things are going to get hammered most likely. Okay, so don't get all caught up in this. A lot of people make that mistake. They think they're in blah, blah, blah. I don't have to re-explain that again. All right, anyway, thank you for bringing up REEF against Tether. Hey, Ryan, good to see you. All right, yeah, go forth. Right, that almost too much. Right, some more bald, pale, and handsome, right? Should be more bald, pale, and angry. Anyway, thanks for stopping by again. Hey, Kim, good to see you. Okay, Maker, speaking of Maker, you shorted it from 1075. Let's take a look. And then I'm going to go take a look at the TradingView people. MKR USD. Okay, so this has been on the radar, right? People have been bringing this up, so I've been watching it. Again, very similar to that reef that we just looked at, where it had a dramatic move recently, fooling a lot of people into thinking that, maybe this is some kind of bull market or blah, 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 blah. All right, this is not a market leader. It's not going anywhere. Look, so it's giving it back. You're short from 1075. Nice trade so far. So what to do with this? Well, right now, there's no reason to buy at this moment. You do have support levels coming up, okay? This is a support area that it's trying to reject. What is that? Basically, like we'll round that to 900, the 900 area around that. It's a nice whole number. Is that the number here? 882 is this low? Yeah, we'll round that to about 900, okay? Nice whole number area. That's what you're getting into. So if you're short, just watch it, okay? If you have a decent position on, I don't know what your size is, it never hurts to take a little off the table just to lock something in because you have a nice short, okay? Now, this general structure is still arguably bullish on the short term because you have a higher low here, which has not been taken out just yet. If that higher low gets taken out, then it basically negates this structure. And then you're looking for lower lows. Now, keep in mind, it's not going to just go in a straight line. All right, it may pop up a bit, give you another lower high, and then blah, 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 right? You know what to expect from there. So if you lock something in along the way, it's always a good idea. Because there is, at this moment, while there's no reason to go long and there's no reason to buy this thing, a long argument can develop, okay? And it can turn into a swing trade idea on the long side if we get a pin bar off of this 900 area, right? I would, if that develops, I would look for a move back up to here. All right, something like that would be within reason for a swing trade. All right, not, again, this is not something, like I just said before, this is really not a good time to be investing in these things long term. You should be thinking short term with these things, okay? But anyway, that would be like the potential long idea, but there's nothing there yet. So I'm watching this thing. If I see something like that, perhaps I'll call it. And there's no guarantee that the long idea will follow through. It may fail much sooner because, again, when we look at the weekly chart, okay, as we can see here, there's nothing bullish about this, okay? So if your short follows through, I mean, this thing, and you give it a chance, it's possible that this thing can test the lows at some point, right? Which would be a huge move for you. So, I mean, look at that weekly pin bar from the week before. That's very telling of these things. So don't let these morons out there blind you and not recognize the structure here. The structure is where all the weight is until this changes. This is still bearish generally. We can get a bullish swing trade somewhere in there, but a bullish swing trade is only good for a couple of days, right? The bigger picture is still bearish. So I hope that helps. Thank you for asking about Maker. Very interesting. Okay. All right. So let me jump over to TradingView here. Let me see what's going on. All right. Cool. Steve, good to see you. All right. Malad from Upper West Side. Hey, say hello to Mike Bloomberg for me. He's probably your neighbor over there. I've been meaning to say that to you. Okay. Let me know if you happen to visit the city. Sure, I would love to do that. I haven't been to the city in quite some time. I've been staying away from there. I used to work there, but yeah, one of these days, I'll work my way back over there. Definitely send me an email so I can contact you. What's your thought on SPX relief rally? Okay, so good question, Malad from Upper West Side. SPX. Tell Mike Bloomberg I said hello. Okay, so let's go to the daily chart. So it's interesting price structure here. So today, right, the market closes here in 30 minutes. The S&P is up 45 points. That's decent. But what's more interesting is there's a higher low. Now, just to mention something here, S&P higher low made the higher high. It's going into this resistance, right? Bitcoin stinks. That's relative weakness. I just have to mention that. If this thing turns, right, expect Bitcoin to sell faster. That's relative weakness. Now, and I made that point in my TradingView article. Now, so this thing is trying to change its tune here. You have a higher low. It's trying to establish the higher high. That's interesting. All right. Now, we still have a ways to go before it proves anything. It is testing the resistance. The question that the market has to answer is, do we get a failed high here over the next couple of days? Do we get a pin bar? Or does this thing manage to keep itself going? We are in Santa rally time, okay? Over the next 2 months, we're going to see Santa rally talk. So perhaps that's what this is in anticipation of. I don't know. But there is a higher low, and it is going for the higher high. Now, one thing that makes this questionable for me, because a lot of people, oh, bull market. Hey, we're going back into the bull market, right? Please don't be mindless like that. Let's look at something very important, right? Before you go for the mindless human nature stuff, look at the bond market. All right, I talk about this every day. You should always look at the bond market. The bond market's now closed. Okay, look at that. That's a bearish pin bar. That's a bearish pin bar sitting on the low. We take out that low. It's a new sell signal in the bond market. The bond market's not improving. What's up with that? All right, so if the bond market continues like this is the 10-year note futures. If this continues lower, rates haven't changed. If rates haven't changed, I don't know where the S&P thinks it's going. It's not going to go very far. Its potential is limited. So even though the structure is changing here, and you're going to have a lot of mindless people that only focus on the chart and don't look at context, they're going to be making all kinds of ridiculous, opinions about, this thing's the bull market's back. All right, please don't get sucked into that. Please never trust people and the nonsense that they come out with, especially if it's emotionally charged, if they're making an emotional appeal. All right, so this thing is more likely to fake out. We don't have any evidence of fake out, but the bond market is not on this thing's side. So how far is this thing really going to go? So what does that tell me? For one, I should not be going crazy investing in stocks yet. It's just not that time, especially near a resistance. If this resistance is cleared, you then have this resistance. So there's a lot of resistance to play with here. That's what, 38.86, around this area here. So going back into the 39s, this thing can, fake everyone out. I mean, look, it's tried over here. This was an interesting rally, only for it to fail and eventually work its way to new lows. So I am not convinced that this is going to go very far because of that bond market situation. If the bond market was showing us another picture, I would be a little more convinced. So what do you do now? Well, I would hold off on investing aggressively. That's definitely not a good idea. Wait for pullbacks. Okay, if you're looking for longs, especially in stocks that are sensitive to the S&P, look for a support. Don't be buying resistance, and be extremely careful at breakouts. If you're buying a breakout, you need to look for the fake out. And if you see the fake out, get out, because If it fakes out in this area, the first place is probably going to test is this low 3631 area. Okay, that's the S&P. So keep that in mind. It's going into a highly vulnerable area with a bond market that is not working with it. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's the S&P. Thank you for asking. You should, whether you trade the S&P or not, if you're involved in stocks, you should be aware of where the S&P is. All right, because that's an important gauge. So thanks for asking, Vlad. All right, Miami. Hey, how are you? Maker. So I went over Maker, Quant. You know, I went over Quant earlier today actually, but I'll go over it again in my earlier stream. Quant, right? So Quant is still someone had mentioned in the stream that they were short Quant, and I warned them. Now Quant, we looked at the bigger picture, right? Let's take a look at the weekly. This Quant is basically in the same situation as many of these other recently rallied altcoins, these outliers, right? Where it basically tapped this resistance. And look, this is a three-legged structure, which is typically, these are typically corrective structures, okay? This is not necessarily the sign of like some kind of bull market or something. And if you look at the bigger picture and you consider the context, the potential of this thing is very limited, right? I mean, this thing went from 428 to a low of $40. That sucks if you bought it up here, man. Yeah, not you, but I'm just saying. So where does this thing think it's going to go, right? It just basically corrected halfway, basically made its way to the halfway point, and you get bearish pin bar, okay? This is the weekly. So right now, it's still too early to make any judgments on this current candle. If it takes out that weekly low, then you have your answer. I mean, it's most likely to be in pullback mode. All right, and I'm willing to bet that Maker and that other one we looked at, Reef, are probably going to be in a similar situation. They all have the same type of signals. Okay, so back to the daily chart. Now, what does this mean in terms of swing trades? Well, this right here actually is a swing trade long. All right, the signal is there. 180.61 is the high. This thing's at 181.92. All right, so there's actually a buy signal in here, but you have to keep something in mind, right? So this recent, we can say the recent trend, the short-term trend, as my students should know, the recent trend, basically within 3 months, is bullish, higher lows, higher highs. But we saw the bigger picture is not exactly bullish. So there's some conflict there. You have a higher low right here off of that pin bar, right? So if you take this swing trade long, you're going to have to measure your risk from somewhere around here. Okay, if it goes there, you have to get out and take the loss. If it works its way to test the high again, you have yourself a decent trade. Just keep in mind, this is highly optimistic to get back up here because you're fighting an environment that's not on the side of this thing. Now, keep in mind, this thing has been irrational. It's doing its own thing for whatever reason. I don't care why, it just is. So perhaps it can test that high for those same reasons. But if it does not, you need to be prepared to make an adjustment. That's really all I can say about this. And the main thing is not this. Everyone's going to focus on this. Well, that's a lot of profit. If I buy 100,000 coins, I make millions of dollars. Right? That's what everyone focuses on. You should be focusing on this. Well, if I'm wrong and it goes here, how much am I losing? Because if it breaks that, then you're looking at sell-off time, right? In these things, and that scenario is very reasonable in this environment. So keep that in mind. Focus on the risk. But right there, that's a swing trade idea. In fact, I may call this just for aggressive traders that are interested in something like that. But it's not exactly favored. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean it won't work. It's just if you're a more conservative trader, it's probably not one that you should be getting involved in. All right. Anyway, thank you for asking about Quant again. Definitely good one to keep on the radar either way. But there is a trade idea there. Okay, and I just outlined it. Okay. Thoughts on silver. So silver, XAG. Now silver has been, silver is a very dramatic metal. Look at that, right? Remember all that drama just a few weeks ago? Silver is going to go to 200 because some dumb reason, right? Some dramatic, over dramatic reason. Silver gave it back. Not surprising. The dollar is super strong. Okay, so I don't like silver. I've always have a hard time with silver. I don't like the CFD. Look, it's a follower of gold generally, right? So right now, what to do with this thing? You're stuck inside this range, All right. You can even argue that there's a head and shoulders forming. I don't put a lot of weight on those type of patterns, but it's there. You have a bearish pin bar developing right now, today, and you take out the low. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that's not a pin bar. That's a doji. But still, it's the same idea. If it takes out that low, you have a sell signal, and you're looking back at the what, low 18s again. I mean, how high was this thing recently? $21, and now it's basically, you know, looking like it's getting ugly again. Don't get mixed up in this thing. If you're looking for swing trades, the structure favors the short side. I mean, look at the dollar. Okay, I showed the dollar chart earlier. That's really all I could say. If you're thinking long-term silver, at least wait for these lows to be tested, because there's a good chance that you see those lows get tested again. All right, does that make sense? I don't know if you're into the CFD, but a short setup can develop there and may be worth $1 or $2, you know, on silver. But again, you're better off. I think you're better off trading gold. I think gold is a better choice because it's more liquid. You can trade a smaller CFD contract size, which gives you more flexibility. Okay, anyway, good question. I hope that answers your question. Hey, Han from the Netherlands. All right, cool. Good to see you again. Freeloader, good to see you. All right, let me jump over to this other chat here. Again, I'm trying to keep this at an hour, so I still have some time. I want to try to answer as many questions as I can. All right, so I went over Maker. All right, cool. Guy, all right. Travel, good to see you. All right. Buongiorno, buonasera, Italy. Okay, good to see you. All right. Steen, is this a double top forming in Bitcoin? Well, all right. Back to Bitcoin real quick. Okay, hold on a second here. I just erased my comments. There we go. Back to Bitcoin real quick. I mean, a double top, you can argue it's a mini double top, but it's not the same. You know, double tops and double bottoms are highly contingent on their location. You're at the midpoint of the range. An ideal double top would be here, okay? Or even more dramatic up here. Those would be significant double tops because these levels had more of a reaction. So yes, you can argue it's a double top, but how much weight do you assign to that? I don't assign a whole lot of weight. We've had double bottoms over and over again. Yeah, they're worth a little something, but they don't go anywhere, okay? So keep in mind, a more significant double bottom would be, again, off of a major low, okay, like 18 even, or even something bigger, you know, like if this thing touches like the 17K low, you know, something like this over here. I mean, that might be a much more significant double bottom. Is that 17K? What is that low? 17.5, okay, and then gives you a buy signal. You can argue that that would be a broad double bottom, right? And you can expect a slightly broader move. But even then, be careful. You have to look at the structure before you. I mentioned that double bottom as a point of interest, not to take a trade, because if these lower highs are intact and it goes and tests that low, you need to stay focused on this section, right? The lower highs and the fact that this is breaking. I know people like to go back and be like, well, look, you know, this is the low, it's a double bottom, right? This entire gigantic double bottom, that could be, but it needs to prove itself. All right, so you don't. My point is, don't step in front of it. If that's what you think you're seeing, you don't step in front of it. It needs to confirm. Okay, and when you're trying to confirm a larger pattern over a larger span of time, more confirmation is required. You can't just look at one candle. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Hey, Chris from Milan. All right. Let me just go back here. I'm just trying to catch up on the chat. Hey, Bill, good to see you. All right, thanks for stopping by. Again, comes to every Bill doesn't even have electricity sometimes, and he still gets in here. No internet, he still gets in here. Hey, Daryl, good to see you. Come from Colorado. All right, must be getting cold over there. Hey, Avi, how are you? All right, so this is Avi from Israel. Welcome. It's good to see you again. I remember you. XLE. So that, I believe, XLE is the energy, right? The S&P energy ETF. So now, you know, energy does its own thing. It has a lot of geopolitical things behind it. Look, I mean, look at this. Energy also is a significant portion of the S&P. I believe it's like 3% of the S&P. So this can help the S&P along somewhat. Now, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Now, look at this. So look where it's going. That's a pretty steep look. We went from like lower high to higher high. Look at that. I mean, these type of squeezes, these can be very news sensitive, geopolitical sensitive, blah, blah, blah. But the bigger picture, look at the bigger picture trend. Does that look bearish to you? This doesn't look bearish to me. Nothing but higher lows and higher highs. This basically becomes a higher low now after the fact because we saw it took out this high. So if this fails from this area, which is possible, right? This is a possible failed high area, and you're coming up and testing this resistance right here, okay? So bad place to be chasing, bad place to be going aggressively long. But if this thing pulls back, right, what you're looking for on something like this is some kind of test of low or maybe higher low. This would be a consolidation. It would be a higher low consolidation. This entire range would be a higher low consolidation. If that support holds, eventually this thing is likely to break higher. I mean, that's what oil has been doing, or energy, the energy sector has been doing. So keep that in mind. The general structure in energy is bullish, okay? But you're not at the most attractive levels. So again, keep in mind, if you're long, this is a good place to start locking profits in. If you're not long and you're looking to get long, whatever it is, energy stocks, oil stocks, or whatever you're looking for, these are not the most attractive prices. You basically missed the move. Okay, no problem. You wait for a pullback. Okay, the pullback areas would be the range low or the midpoint. I am not a big fan of the midpoint. The midpoint is highly random, but the general trend is bullish. So this thing finds support at the midpoint, and that bullish trend asserts itself. You may get a test of high or possible breakout. That's where your risk, at least if anything, is better than where it is now. All right, your risk is very high here. Does that make sense? You're going up against a lot of resistance. So I would not be buying oil, at least not for swing trades, not at these levels. Wait for the pullback, okay, on XLE. So thank you for asking. This can be, this can have an effect on the S&P, by the way, right? When it's really bullish like this, it's going to hold the S&P up a bit. All right, let me move along. Let me see what other stocks I have here. Again, if I missed your question, I apologize. Please ask me again. Again, I have to keep this thing at an hour, so I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. Sometimes I don't see someone's question and I skip over it. All right, I'm not purposely skipping over your question. Okay, OXY or WTI. All right, let's take a look at OXI, because I mean, what I talked about here pretty much will relate to oil. Let's talk about OXY. OXY. Okay, is that petroleum? Right. Okay. So, I mean, no surprise, it looks similar, right? Trying to break out of that range. I mean, look at the structure. It looks very similar to that XLE chart, does it not? It looks very similar. So again, let's look at the bigger picture here. In fact, let's go to a weekly chart, okay? And let's examine this thing. General trend, in going all the way back to 2020, general trend, higher lows and higher highs. Now, you have this recent consolidation. You can see it very clearly on this chart, right? Range low, range high. Now, that's a higher low consolidation so far. You're nearer the higher part of the range. So everything that I just said about XLE is going to apply to this. So if you're looking to get involved in something like this, you wait for some kind of pullback. Don't be buying this now. If you're going to short this, just be aware that you're fighting something that's strong. And it can squeeze, it can gap up on you. I mean, there's all kinds of risks that it can do. So you have to decide if you're aggressive enough to do that. You can always use options as well. I don't know if OXY has options. I'm not going to get into that right now. But the point is, this is a resistance area. So selling activity is likely to develop there. It may break out, but then you're dealing with the false breakout area. It's just one problem after another. You have to babysit that. I'd rather, like if I was looking to get involved in this, I would look for the pullback. Okay, I tend to be very conservative. I would like to see a test of low. I like to see support levels, especially in something that's strong. At least, if anything, if I'm going to be a little more aggressive, at least a midpoint test, something. Okay, I don't like buying resistance levels because I know how quickly it can fail, and these things require a lot of babysitting. Okay, does that make sense? So generally strong, look for supports, right, in a strong market. Okay, now keep in mind, if you buy, let's say it goes to support, gives you a signal, and you get long, and then it breaks the support, right? Take the loss. It should not break the support if it's going to stay strong. That could be a change. Markets do change. So keep that in mind. I don't want to paint this picture like, oh, yeah, it's just going to keep going higher forever. Things change. Our job as a trader is not to maximize profits like everyone thinks. Okay, that's Captain Obvious talking. Our job is to basically be aware of changes and constantly adjust our perception of risk. That is our job as traders, whether you're a day trader, a swing trader, even an investor. You should be aware of that. Okay. But instead, you let human nature get the best of you and you make the typical human nature mistakes. That's why the industry looks at you like an opportunity. All right. So you need to get beyond that. Your biggest obstacle is not trying to read a chart. Your biggest obstacle is your own human behavior. You have to see through it. Okay. Let's move along here. I can rant about that forever. Okay. So just going back to the chat. All right. What's your thoughts on U.S. oil demand by Fed keeping, okay, bearish pressure on OPEC reducing supply? Okay. So Daryl, good question. I don't pay any attention to that stuff. I just look at the charts. Okay. I don't pay attention to, like, all this drama with OPEC and blah, 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 blah. All right. Again, that would be trying to apply logic. If OPEC is doing their thing to increase oil prices, hey, that's what they're doing. I don't know. I don't care. I look at levels. I look at price structure because the price factors all of this in. Okay. Price is a discounting mechanism. That is true. And that means it knows everything that's going on in the world. Okay. All the insiders that have real information and that are acting on it, they are going to be reflected in price. That's all I'm interested in. So I focus on the price. I don't get wrapped up in all that geopolitical drama. It's a complete waste of time. It makes you sound smart, but it doesn't help you anticipate markets at all. People like to apply conventional logic. Oh, well, I'm kind of smart, right? I kind of, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then the market does something completely, oh, and then the first thing, but I thought it was going to do this. And my question always is, why are you thinking? Okay, let the market tell you the answer. So anyway, that's my opinion. I don't have an opinion. I don't pay any attention to that. I don't care why something is moving the way it's moving. I'm only interested in, what is the momentum? What are the levels? What is the structure? What are my probabilities? And what is my risk? That's all I'm interested in. Okay, especially as a swing trader. All right. Okay. Hey, Chris, again, good to see you. Okay, 14 watching and 14 likes. Oh, nice, great. 14. Meanwhile, you got one moron after another on this platform. Okay, I watched them, 3,000 people watching on a live stream, and I'm like, man, I can't even get 300 people on a live stream, and I'm giving value, like real value. You can use this information to at least protect yourself, if anything. And you have a guy on there talking about complete nothing, and he's got 3,000 people. It's like it just. I don't know what to say about that. It's certainly not encouraging for me. Okay, Luthando, hey, how are you? What's your view on Anglo Platinum, AMC? It's a South African stock. Okay, AMC, is that the symbol, AMC? Let me see here. What's that thing called? Anglo Platinum. I don't see it here. Maybe I need to type in Anglo. Let's see, Anglo Platinum. I don't see Anglo Platinum. Let me go through the list here. Anglo American, blah blah blah. But man, this is a lot of Anglos. Let's see, Anglo. I don't see. Let me check AMC again. Is that the right symbol? AMC. Let's see, Anglo Platinum. I don't know. Maybe you can give me the correct symbol for it. I don't see it here. I don't see any Anglo Platinums. Maybe I'm missing it. Okay, yeah, let me move along. Yeah, let me know if that's the correct symbol. I don't see it. Okay, and let me jump over to the other chat. I got more people here. How many people do I have on TradingView? Let's see, how many? 22. Oh, that's not, is that more than YouTube? Yeah, wow. Okay, all right. I'm always complaining about TradingView. Okay, let's see what we have here. So just going back. Algo, I see Algo. So Oxy went over that. Thanks for keeping this going. You should visit Miami soon. I love Miami. Okay, I hate New Jersey. I love Miami. Let me see. We can ask Mike to join us. Yeah, right. Can help us balance the budget, right? Isn't that what he was saying over there? Anyway, okay. What are your thoughts on an Algo USD? All right, let's take a look. Algo, Algo USD. All right. So I'm sorry again. I'm trying to catch up. I just have so many questions to answer here. So this is Algorand. It's on Coinbase. Let's take a look. 1 week chart. First thing I want to see. I mean, all right. Oof. Boy, someone got caught in this one. Man, what was the high of this? Oh, I can't even fit it on my chart. What is this? All right, so it was $2.82 at one time, and this thing right now is at 31 cents. Oh, kind of sounds like Cardano. Anyway, so let's take a look. Right, so bigger picture right off the bat, this thing stinks. All right, there's nothing going on here. You have this. It's found this bottom, this low point at what is that? 28 cents. And it's been in a range ever since, right? Look at that tight little range. So there's certainly no changes taking place here at this moment. Yet you can have, so you have some old support from back here. Perhaps that is playing a role, right? And that's providing some support for you here. But as far as nice looking trend, certainly not bullish. Okay. Now let's look at the smaller picture. Let's go to the daily chart. I mean, recently, look, it had this pop-up attempt, just like we saw with these other coins, and then it gives it back. Look, a lot of these, again, are just a result of marketing and hype. Believe me, marketing, a lot of the success of these coins depends on very good marketing, right? And they appeal usually to hope or these emotional things, right? And you get this kind of nonsense. Don't get caught in that, please. All right, so first of all. Second of all, yeah, you have a notable support area. But as far as swing trades, there's nothing here. Okay, you have more recent, look, lower high, testing support again. No reason to be buying this thing yet. You know, as far as a swing trade, I mean, look, swing trade wise, what if you managed to get this breakout? What would that even be worth? This was at 32 cents. It went to as high as 41 cents. I mean, 9 cents. That's if you caught the top, right? That's if you got out at the top. So this is not really a great choice for swing trades, right? Unless you're going to really load the boat. But why would you do that? First of all. Second of all, you're near a range low. So you could be playing the range game. Something like this, I would say, if you believe in whatever it is that they do, I don't know what they do, this would be like maybe like a long range, maybe investment type, but there's no reason to be piling in. So you take a small bite, okay? Maybe you buy $100 worth or something, and then you schedule it out. Maybe each month you buy a little bit, because if this thing breaks the support, you know, it wouldn't be too surprising to see this thing test the 1.5 cent area. Right? It's possible. So keep that in mind. This, you have to look at these. Look, this algo, it's just another garbage altcoin name. We're not in the environment for these things to really get anywhere. Okay, we need to see easy money. We just looked at the bonds before. Money is not getting easier or cheaper. It's getting more expensive. Not good for these things. Okay, these are highly speculative assets. So just keep that in mind. They travel in a group mostly, and you have to keep that in mind. So there's no potential here right now. At some point, the bond market will change. These things are not going to turn like on an instant, but some of them, the ones that have more potential, you know, will have that. The money will start looking for them soon at that point when the bonds change. Now, keep in mind, I'm looking for that point. When that point comes, again, it's not going to be like a single day. It may take some time to develop, but I want to find coins at least with a low supply. I don't want these stupid 10 trillion coin supplies. I mean, that's just dumb. Okay, they may go somewhere, but I'd rather find low float coins, just like low float stocks. I would be much more interested in those. So that's one thing. That's one factor I will be evaluating when I look to put like a portfolio of these garbage coins together, because you know some of them have potential. We're just not in the environment for them just yet. Okay, but I'm waiting for that environment. All right, let me move along here. Good question. I hope that gives you some perspective. Okay, thoughts on ONA, ADA, USDT. What's ONA? I don't know. Is that a coin? I'll check Cardano. All right, ADA, USD. I don't know what ONA is, but Cardano, you know, I mentioned this because I was looking at this the other day. What a piece of garbage. Okay, this thing. Look at this thing. So this thing was, the reason why I mentioned this is such garbage is because it was so overhyped, and everyone was saying such great things. The owner, he's such a nice man. He even has a beard. Who cares? He stole all your money. Okay, because look at this thing. It's complete garbage. All right. I mean, there's no reason to be in this thing. Okay. This is like the worst of the worst. Look at this. So a little pop up here means nothing. You have so many resistance levels that you have to get through. And top of that, you have an environment that's not on your side. Just don't waste your time. Okay. If you like Cardano, and you like their nonsense and their grand ideas or whatever, and you want to be an investor, okay, that's your business. I mean, who knows? Maybe it does pick up in the future, but right now it's got a long way to go before it proves anything. Focus on a weekly chart, okay, and watch the resistance levels on the weekly chart. Yeah, you have pin bar over here, haven't even taken out the high, there's no buy signal, and you have resistance right there. That's your weekly story. This thing needs to start clearing resistance levels before anything, and I'm willing to bet that this thing's not going to go anywhere until Bitcoin leads the way, okay? And Bitcoin looks like complete garbage. So I would avoid this one. As far as, swing trades, there's nothing to do. There are better choices out there. It doesn't mean, look, I'm not always right. I'm wrong all the time, but just I'm looking at potentials and I'm looking at the environment and just comparing the two. And the environment is just not in favor of these at all. And there's not even any optimistic signs. There's just nothing there. I'm not being opinionated here. I'm just looking at the facts that I see. Okay. And until those change, I have very little confidence in especially coins like this one that fooled so many people. Okay. Because this is complete garbage. Maybe that's an opinion, but technically it certainly seems to be in line with what I'm thinking. Anyway, all right, let's move along here. Okay, from Northern Ireland, hey, welcome. Top of the morning to you. No, top of the evening to you, right? Is that what they say in Ireland? I don't know. It's my Irish accent. What is CSPR? Let's take a look. CSPR. Okay, is this a stock? Is this a coin? Is this an altcoin? That looks like an altcoin, right? Let's see, because I see a lot of USDs after it. So let's see. All right, so this looks here like one of these. All right, so it looks like it had a recent pop, right? We've looked at a number of these. We've looked at a number of these so far. Similar situation, right up to an old support, new resistance, hesitating. Okay, this can turn into a continuation long, but you're still fighting a big bearish picture. Okay, so I wouldn't put a lot of confidence into this, especially when they're vertical like this. You get a lot of longs that get sucked into that. I don't like it. Okay, I don't like it. That behavior is not consistent with the environment, and the environment is what carries all the weight. So what I'm saying here is, if you want to take some risk in that, you're going to have to stay on top of it, because probability doesn't favor it, and it probably doesn't have a whole lot of potential just yet. All right, don't get sucked into just, but it looks safe, it looks good. That's old news now. Okay, you have to look at the environment. All right, so I hope that helps. How much? Okay, so I gotta speed this up here a bit, because I talk too much. All right, let me see here. Just going through from Pakistan. Hey, welcome. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you stopping by. Privet means hi in Russia. Oh, from Russia. Okay, Privet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Privet. Okay. Let me move along. Before you close out, can you check Apple and Tesla? Other two that are interesting are Shopify and Twilio. Okay, Apple and Tesla, right? Two mainstream stocks. Let's take a look. Let's go to Apple. There's an AAPL. Okay, so Apple, basically, let's go to the weekly. So Apple is a reflection of the NASDAQ, pretty much. Okay, it's a mainstream tech stock. Hey, I bought Apple because all my friends buy Apple. It's a mindless investor stock. Okay, it's like the leader of the FANG, whatever. Okay, anyway. So look at this rally. Nice rally in Apple, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Maybe people are anticipating, they're going to sell more iPhones during the holidays, whatever nonsense you want to, point to. That's okay. This is a bullish movement, but this thing, we can argue that Apple is basically, while it's generally strong, the more recent price action, we could say the midterm trend is basically range bound, right? We could draw a rectangle on it. This is range bound. That's a consolidation. Price has now worked its way back toward the midpoint of that consolidation. This can go either way. All right. Like it's like 50-50 here. So I don't like that location. Number one. I mean, Apple's definitely not a garbage coin. We know that. Apple's a leader. But the thing is, this is a very tough spot to do anything with. If you're long Apple from a lower price, hey, you want to take something off the table? Okay, there's no buy signal, there's no sell signal, there's nothing to do here. All right, you have resistance areas up in here, so this would really be an area to be taking something off the table if it gets there. Otherwise, if this thing turns again and starts testing lows, I mean, that's a place to be looking for longs, this area right here, but swing trade longs. Because in this environment, as the bond market points out, I mean, Apple's a tech stock. They're not likely to do well, right? If rates keep rising, I don't care who they are, they're going to be affected. Then they may not get beat up like some other stocks, but it's not unreasonable for it to test its recent low on that type of situation, right? We don't have a sustainable rally environment. So these short squeezes that we get are very irrational, and they may look like, oh, I'm buying the bottom of Apple. I mean, look at this short squeeze. Look at this, right? How many people got involved in that thinking, yeah, I'm in the best stock in the whole market, and then it gives it all back. So, you know, it's irrational, random price movement, bad location, okay? Wait for support, wait for resistance. Those are going to be your action points. Of course, you need confirmation. Does that make sense? All right, I would like to go over Tesla, but I have a bunch of other questions here, so let me do this. I'll come back to that. But you know, another mainstream stock, Tesla tends to do its own thing as well. It has its own, you know, world that it reacts to. So hold on. One stock only, freeloader, house rules. I like that. I have my own house rules. Now, come on, I'm not like TradingView. Come on. I don't impose house rules on people. No, I'm joking. No, but usually what I do is, some people aren't familiar. I try to answer one symbol per person so that I can answer more questions. And I'll try to come back to your second symbol or third symbol. Okay. But thanks. Thank you for mentioning that, freeloader. All right. So let's move along here. Golden Boy from Sweden. A Swedish analyst believes we are above 3806 on the SPX. We could take a long trade. What do you have to say about that? A Swedish analyst. Okay. He said up until New Year. This is a professional saying this. I guess in Sweden, maybe they don't have, no different than here. They don't have any accountability over there either. So S&P, you cannot speak in absolutes, right? That this whole paragraph right here is in absolutes. We could take a long trade, and then it said up until New Year, and then you can't. That's one scenario out of infinite scenarios, right? You can't say that. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't agree with that at all. That's an opinion, and that type of opinion can get you into trouble. We may go higher. I mean, but there's a very good chance we turn. I mean, SPX. Look at this thing. I mean, it's basically it's kind of like that Apple situation, right? It's going up against all this resistance. This is the weekly chart, and it can turn at any point just because we have a higher low. Like I said, you're going to have these big mouths projecting all this nonsense. We need to take out these resistance levels first. If he's right, okay, we should take those levels out, pull back, and produce a higher low, right? If he's wrong, this thing fails here and takes out the support, okay? So if it takes out the support, he's wrong. Let's put it that way. If it maintains those supports, then maybe he's right, but I don't go with those type of opinions. That's a very bad thing to do. And that's why so many people get into trouble. If you take his idea and you lose money, well, it's the market. What are we going to do? It's the market. Please don't think in absolutes. Look at levels, look at price structure. At this moment, price structure is trying to change bullish. There's a higher low. We talked about this earlier, but there's a lot of places where it can fail. Look for the failure. Don't be fooled by the illusion of control from these would-be professionals. Okay, it's unbelievable how they fool people. Their agenda is to get attention. Their agenda is to grow a following, right? I mean, kind of like my same agenda too, except I'm not very good at it. I have no one following me. But if he's some kind of analyst or whatever, they're trying to get attention. They want you to use their company or whatever, right? There's usually something behind it like that anyway. Please don't pay attention to analysts. Figure these things out yourself. You don't have to be an analyst like them to figure out some basic things. You don't. All right. They always use that veil of professionalism over, I'm smarter than you. No, you're not. Because just like you, they have no idea where the market's going. Right? No one knows unless they have inside information. So please don't think in absolutes. That's what I can say about that. Okay. JPY is worse than a penny coin. Can you have a look at this pair? Sure. So dollar yen, JPY. Okay. So, well, I mean, this is the dollar. This is a reflection of the US dollar, right? So, I mean, look at this. Nothing, higher lows, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Look at this, right? Recent candle, outside bar, bearish, right? That's Friday. Okay, that's a dollar pullback. Look where this thing is now, right back up in its face. That right there is not bearish. This movement that we're seeing today, that's dollar saying, hey, I'm going right back up, people. I wasn't really pulling back. That was just an overreaction to nonsense. That's all this was so far. I mean, this thing still has a couple of hours before it closes or whatever, or an hour, but still, this is most likely going to close like this. So that's the dollar, right? There's nothing but bullishness here. There's no reason to be bearish. I would be looking for longs in this thing or short the pound, which is what I'm planning to reshort, right? Especially after seeing that. Okay, thank you for mentioning. All right, let me jump over to the other chat. I'm getting tight on time here. Oh, it's an hour. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to answer like one more question. Again, I apologize if I missed your question. All right, I apologize. I have to skip a few because I can't be on this thing for really long. I went over Cardano. All right. Okay. From Slovenia, how are you? Tips. Bonds are slowing. When will bonds be a buy? Tips bonds are slowing. Well, the bonds will be a buy when they produce at least a change in trend, at least. Now we're talking long term. We're not talking swing trades here, right? The bond market is still sitting on its lows, right? And it's sitting on a lower low. I don't see a double bottom. I don't see a consolidation. I don't see anything. It's just sitting on its lows. So when will the bonds be a buy? I don't know. The bond market's going to have to show that. I can tell you that most likely it will take 3 months or longer before we have some sort of definitive structure that we can measure and say, okay, bond markets are turning. We had plenty of time. I'll tell you, when the bond markets peaked, all right, it was a 5-month process or something like that. Right? When they peaked and they basically made it clear that rates were rising, the stock market took a few months just to recognize that. Keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Let me just go back here. Okay. No problem. Hey, Levent from Turkey. It's good to see you. Hey, Joel, how are you? Can you look at LEU? Looking for an entry. Okay. I think I know, but love. Okay. No problem. No problem. All right, so I'll take a look at LEU and then I'm going to wrap this up. All right, again, I apologize if I missed your question. LEU, it's a stock. All right, let's see here. Centrus Energy, is that the correct one? I'm guessing that is. All right, it's a South African. It says, where did I get South Africa from? Okay, Centrus Energy. All right, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Well, so again, this is energy. As we saw, like with XLE and all that stuff, there's going to be some bullish bias to this right off the bat. Right, general trend. I mean, look, wow, what a pullback, huh? Right, this nice recovery here developed the higher low. Okay, you have the energy, as we saw, the energy sector is generally bullish, going for its high, but has not made the high yet. So perhaps this thing, you have a long signal in there. This can be tricky. Okay, this is a weekly chart. So if you take this, you need that energy sector to follow through. If the energy sector does not follow through, you're looking at a break of support. I mean, this chart is not as nice looking as some of the other ones that we saw, but I can understand why you'd be interested in on the long side. The conservative thing, wait for the support. Otherwise, if you're looking for this, if you're buying this thing now, you need to see follow through. Okay, you need to see at least a test of high or something like that. You're going to have to babysit this because this can easily give you a lower high and test that low. Again, it can break, it can fool around a bit and then work its way higher. Obviously, you're going to be dependent on oil and on, I don't know exactly what they do, but XLE would probably be a good gauge for you. Okay, anyway, so not bad idea. Just keep in mind that support can break very easily. This is a weekly chart, right? Let's look at the daily chart real quick. So yeah, you have this little more recent, this consolidation, you're on that high. So why not give it a chance to pull back a bit? Maybe possibly test that range low if you want to keep your risk reward more conservative. Otherwise, you're playing that breakout and you're going to need follow through there. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, I got to wrap this up. Otherwise, I'll be talking here for hours, and I spent way too long earlier today talking. So I apologize. Oh, you're long XLE. Okay. So I apologize if I missed your question, man. I see a whole bunch of them here. If you invest in a new project as where would you get in? Okay, Han, That's a good question. I can't answer that now. If you have extra free time, can you check STNE? Look at all these questions. All right. Oh, look at this. I got another porn spammer. I had one earlier too. Man, you people don't learn, huh? The amateur. This is the amateur spammer because they're spamming my stream. Seriously, dude, go to like a fake guru that has thousands of followers because no one's going to click on this. Bill might click on it. I'm just joking. Bill's not going to click on your stupid thing here. Stop spamming my stream. Okay, I'm going to block you, moron. Oh, anyway, okay. Okay. Oh yeah. No, I'm not working with Andrew anymore. No. I sent out an email a long time ago on that, man. But I guess you're not on the email list. Okay. I am famous now. That spammer is completely off, man. I have 14 people in this stream. I mean, come on. If you're going to be a professional spammer, go to at least a stream with a couple of hundred people in it, at least. Maybe someone will click on your link. All right. Anyway, I should not have to educate spammers on how to spam. Are you okay? Are your meetings? Yes, they are. Yeah, you can watch these after the fact. RKG. Okay. He might put that a while ago. Okay. So, all right, people, I got to wrap this up. Again, I'm famous in the porn world. Not quite, but that could be interesting. Anyway, yeah. So, hey, people, let me just put this back to Bitcoin. I got to wrap this up. If I missed your question, I apologize. Look, I'm on YouTube every day, so you guys know where to find me. Here, let me just put this Bitcoin here. I'm looking again just to leave you with an idea. I'm looking to get short the pound again. All right, after getting stopped out, I'm looking to get short the pound again. We will see. I will. People that know, where I'll put that signal. This again, Bitcoin is still acting bearish. Nothing has changed. So, I just, again, people, don't get fooled by nonsense. Please don't get fooled by talk like that guy mentioning the analyst in Sweden. Please, there are no experts in this game that know more than you, unless they have inside information. No one has inside information on the S&P. Unless you know Jerome Powell personally, and he tells you something, yeah, that could possibly move the S&P, and you at that point would know more than the market. But otherwise, it's all random. Okay, it's all random, and you need to accept that. The focus is risk. The focus should be levels, and your goal should be to minimize yourself from the equation as much as possible and achieve objectivity, being objective. All right, extracting information from the chart that gives you true value as far as weighing decisions. Okay, that's what you're looking for, and it's not a lot of information. You want to use the least amount of information possible. That's what I specialize in. And then, of course, trying to keep your risks small. Right, that's the other thing, and making adjustments when the market gives new information. We have to be listeners to the market, not to people. All right, so we're passive, we're listeners. The market does the work. The market gives us the answers. The market knows everything. We know nothing, no opinions. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that. Okay, no problem, guys. Hey, no problem, guy. So then more people can reach. So then how to join your, the link, just check the link. No, there's no Greenbridge. So maybe that's why you had a problem there. Just click on the link here in the description thing, and now all your answers are there. Okay. All right, cool. So, hey, everyone, thank you for joining me. Wherever you are in the world, enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of your evening. And thank you very much for watching.